4 times. Every single night, 4 times I'd wake up needing to pee. My wife Sarah would lie there pretending to sleep while I stumbled to the bathroom in the dark, bumping into furniture, cursing under my breath. I was 63 years old and felt like my body was betraying me in the most humiliating way possible. But then I discovered one simple thing I could do right before bed that changed everything. Within 2 weeks, I was sleeping through the night. Within a month, my stream was stronger than it had been in years. And the best part? It costs absolutely nothing and takes less than 3 minutes. I'm Thomas Whitfield, and 3 years ago I was diagnosed with an enlarged prostate that was destroying my sleep, my energy, and honestly, my dignity. Tonight I'm going to share exactly what I discovered that night when desperation finally drove me to try something my urologist never mentioned. Something so simple that when I told other men about it, they couldn't believe it worked. But here's what I need you to understand first. The reason you're waking up multiple times every night isn't what most doctors tell you. They'll say it's just aging, just your prostate getting bigger, just something you have to live with. They're wrong. There's a specific mechanism happening in your body right before sleep that's making everything worse. And once you understand it, once you see what I saw that changed my life, you'll never look at bedtime the same way again. Let me paint you a picture of where I was 3 years ago. I'd go to bed exhausted, hoping tonight would be different. Maybe I'd get 4 hours of uninterrupted sleep, maybe 5 if I was lucky. But like clockwork, around 1 a.m., my bladder would wake me up. Not gently, but with that urgent, pressing sensation that made me scramble out of bed. I'd stand there at the toilet, waiting for what felt like forever for my stream to start. When it finally did, it was weak, interrupted, unsatisfying. I'd get back to bed thinking maybe that was it for the night. But no, 3 a.m., same thing. 5 a.m., again. By the time my alarm went off at 6:30, I felt like I hadn't slept at all. The fatigue was crushing. I dragged myself through work meetings, fighting to keep my eyes open. My concentration was shot. Simple tasks that used to be automatic now required enormous effort. My wife noticed I was irritable, snapping at things that never used to bother me. But worse than the tiredness was the constant anxiety. Every time I left the house, I'd map out where the bathrooms were. Movie theaters, restaurants, long drives. Everything became a logistical nightmare. I started declining invitations, making excuses to stay home, where I knew relief was always just a few steps away. The shame was eating me alive. Here I was, a grown man, afraid to be more than 50 feet from a bathroom. I felt like I was losing my masculinity, my independence, my confidence in my own body. My doctor, well-meaning as he was, offered the usual solutions. Medications with side effects that scared me more than the problem itself. Surgery that might fix the symptoms, but could leave me with complications I wasn't ready to face. Lifestyle changes that felt more like restrictions than solutions. No caffeine after 2 p.m., no liquids after 6 p.m., avoid spicy foods, avoid alcohol. I was already living like a monk, and it wasn't helping. That's when I started looking beyond conventional medicine. Not because I'm against doctors. My urologist is a good man doing his best with the tools he has. But I realized he was treating my symptoms, not addressing what was actually causing them. See, what most men don't understand is that nighttime urination isn't really about your bladder being full. That's just the end result. The real problem happens in the hours before you even get into bed. Your prostate, when it's inflamed or enlarged, doesn't just affect urine flow during the day. It affects something called your nocturnal hormone cascade. This is the natural process your body goes through as it prepares for sleep. Your cortisol should drop, your melatonin should rise, and your parasympathetic nervous system should take over, allowing your entire pelvic region to relax and function normally. But when your prostate is under stress, from inflammation, from DHT buildup, from chronic tension. This entire cascade gets disrupted. Your pelvic floor muscles stay tight. Your bladder becomes hypersensitive. Your body interprets normal nighttime hormone fluctuations as signals to wake up and empty your bladder, even when it's not actually full. This is why you can pee right before bed and still wake up an hour later needing to go again. It's not about volume, it's about signaling. Your nervous system is stuck in a state of hypervigilance, constantly scanning for problems, unable to fully relax into deep, restorative sleep. I discovered this not from my doctor, but from a forum where prostate cancer survivors shared what actually worked for them beyond conventional treatment. One man mentioned something his physical therapist had taught him, a specific technique that reset his nervous system before sleep. He called it his magic bullet for nighttime symptoms. I was skeptical, but desperate enough to try anything. The technique itself is deceptively simple, but the science behind it is profound. You're essentially teaching your pelvic floor muscles and your nervous system to shift into parasympathetic mode before sleep, breaking the cycle of tension and hypervigilance that keeps you waking up all night. It works by activating your vagus nerve through a specific breathing pattern combined with gentle pressure point stimulation and targeted muscle relaxation. The vagus nerve is your body's main rest and digest pathway. When it's properly activated, it sends signals throughout your pelvic region to relax, normalize hormone flow, and prepare for deep sleep. Most men have no idea this nerve even exists, let alone how crucial it is for prostate health and sleep quality. Here's exactly what I do every single night before bed, and what hundreds of men in our online community now swear by. First, I lie on my back in bed with my knees slightly bent, feet flat on the mattress. This position naturally supports your lower back and allows your pelvic floor to fully relax. I place one hand on my chest, one on my belly, and begin with what's called diaphragmatic breathing. But this isn't just any breathing exercise. It's specifically timed to trigger your parasympathetic response. I inhale slowly through my nose for a count of 4, expanding my belly, not my chest. Then I hold for a count of 4. Then I exhale through slightly pursed lips for a count of 6, making a soft whoosh sound. The longer exhale is crucial because it signals your nervous system to shift into rest mode. I repeat this cycle 12 times, focusing completely on the rhythm and the sensation of my pelvic floor naturally releasing with each exhale. While I'm breathing, I use my fingertips to apply gentle pressure to specific points on my lower abdomen. There's a point about 2 inches below your navel and slightly to the right. This corresponds to an acupressure point that traditional Chinese medicine calls the sea of energy. I press gently for 30 seconds while continuing the breathing pattern. There's another point on the inside of your wrist, about 3 finger widths up from your wrist crease, right in the center between the 2 tendons. This point helps regulate your nervous system and hormone production. 30 seconds of gentle pressure while maintaining that rhythmic breathing. The final component is what I call the release. Still lying on my back, I consciously tense every muscle in my pelvic region. Imagine you're trying to stop urinating midstream and hold for 5 seconds. Then I release completely, letting everything go soft and relaxed while taking one deep, slow exhale. I do this tense and release cycle 3 times, and with each release, I can actually feel the tension leaving my entire pelvic area. The whole process takes less than 5 minutes, but the effects are remarkable. Within the first week of doing this every night, I noticed I was waking up only twice instead of 4 times. By the second week, it was once per night, and sometimes not at all. After a month, I was consistently sleeping through the night, waking up naturally at my alarm with more energy than I'd had in years. But the benefits went beyond just sleep. My daytime symptoms improved dramatically too. My stream became stronger and more consistent. The urgency that used to hit me suddenly during the day became manageable. I could sit through movies, take long drives, enjoy dinner out with my wife, without that constant background anxiety about bathroom locations. One thing that really helped me stay consistent with this routine was tracking everything daily. I started using an app designed specifically for men dealing with these issues. I'll put the link in the pinned comment below. It lets me monitor my sleep quality, symptom severity, and how well the technique is working week by week. Having that data helped me fine-tune the approach and see patterns I wouldn't have noticed otherwise. What fascinated me as I researched this further was discovering the science behind why it works so well. Studies show that men with enlarged prostates often have chronically elevated sympathetic nervous system activity. They're stuck in fight or flight mode, even during rest. This keeps their pelvic floor muscles tense, their bladder hypersensitive, and their sleep fragmented. The breathing technique I use specifically activates the parasympathetic nervous system through the vagus nerve. When you exhale longer than you inhale, especially with that slight resistance from pursed lips, you're sending a direct signal to your brain to shift into rest and digest mode. The pressure point stimulation enhances this effect by targeting specific nerve pathways that regulate pelvic floor function. The tense and release cycles work on a principle called post-isometric relaxation. After you consciously contract a muscle group and then release it, the muscles naturally relax more completely than they were before the contraction. It's like resetting your pelvic floor's tension levels back to normal. I started sharing this technique with other men in prostate support groups, and the results were consistently impressive. Robert, a 68-year-old retired teacher, went from waking up 5 times per night to sleeping through until morning within 3 weeks. David, who's 59 and works in construction, said it not only fixed his nighttime symptoms, but gave him more energy during the day than he'd had in his 50s. What I love about this approach is that it addresses the root cause, not just the symptoms. Most treatments focus on the mechanical aspects, shrinking the prostate, relaxing the bladder, improving urine flow, but they miss the neurological component entirely. Your nervous system controls everything about how your prostate and bladder function. When you teach it to properly relax before sleep, everything downstream improves naturally. The key is consistency. This isn't a quick fix that works after one night. It's retraining your nervous system, and that takes time. I tell men to commit to doing this every single night for at least 3 weeks before evaluating results. Most notice improvements within the first week, but the full benefits build over time as your body learns this new pattern. There are a few common mistakes that can undermine results. First, trying to rush through it. This technique only works if you're truly focused and relaxed while doing it. If you're thinking about work, checking your phone, or rushing to get it over with, you're missing the point entirely. Second, inconsistency. Doing it for a few nights, skipping a week, then trying again won't work. Your nervous system needs consistent signals to create lasting change. Third, expecting it to work immediately. Some men try it for 2 or 3 nights, don't see dramatic results, and give up. The men who get the best results are those who approach it like learning a new skill, with patience and persistence. I also discovered that certain foods can enhance the effectiveness of this technique. About an hour before bed, I eat a small handful of pumpkin seeds. They're rich in zinc and magnesium, both crucial for prostate health and nervous system function. I also drink a cup of chamomile tea, which contains compounds that naturally support the parasympathetic nervous system. On nights when I'm particularly stressed or my symptoms feel worse, I add one extra component. I place a warm compress over my lower abdomen while doing the breathing exercises. The gentle heat helps increase blood flow to the prostate prostate area and enhances the relaxation response. You can use a heating pad on low, a warm, damp towel, or even a rice sock heated in the microwave for about 30 seconds. The warmth combined with the breathing and pressure points creates an incredibly soothing experience that my body now associates with deep, uninterrupted sleep. What surprised me most was how this simple nighttime routine improved other areas of my health too. My blood pressure, which had been creeping up, normalized within a few months. My wife says I'm less stressed during the day, more patient, more like my old self. I have energy for activities I'd given up on. Weekend hikes, working in the garden, playing with my grandkids without constantly worrying about bathroom breaks. 6 months after I started this routine, I went back to my urologist for a follow-up. He was amazed by the improvement in my symptoms and asked what I'd been doing differently. When I explained the technique, he was initially skeptical, but admitted that my results spoke for themselves. He's since started recommending similar approaches to other patients, especially those who want to avoid medication or aren't candidates for surgery. The most rewarding part has been connecting with other men who've tried this approach and experienced similar transformations. There's something powerful about knowing you're not alone, that other guys have walked this path and found a way out of the cycle of sleepless nights and constant anxiety. We've created an informal community of men, supporting each other through this journey, sharing variations on the technique, celebrating improvements, and helping newcomers stay motivated through the learning curve. If you're dealing with nighttime urination, frequent bathroom trips, or that constant underlying worry about your prostate health, I want you to know there's hope. You don't have to accept declining sleep quality as just part of aging. You don't have to plan your life around bathroom locations. Your body has incredible healing capacity when you give it the right signals and support. The technique I've shared tonight isn't a miracle cure, but it's a tool that can dramatically improve your quality of life. It's worked for me, it's worked for hundreds of other men, and it can work for you too. The key is approaching it with patience, consistency, and trust in your body's ability to heal and rebalance itself. Start tonight. Lie down, put your hands in position, and begin that first cycle of breathing. Focus completely on the rhythm, the sensation of release, the growing sense of calm in your pelvic region. Don't worry if it feels awkward at first, or if you don't notice immediate changes. Every night you practice this, you're teaching your nervous system a new way of preparing for sleep, a healthier way of functioning. If you found value in my story tonight, please subscribe. I share everything I learn about natural prostate health, the approaches that actually work, and the science behind why they're effective. And remember, that tracking app I mentioned is linked in the pinned comment below. It's been an invaluable tool in my journey and might help you monitor your own progress as you implement this technique. 3 years ago, I was a man whose nights were ruled by his prostate, whose days were shadowed by fatigue and anxiety. Tonight, as I prepare for another full night of restful sleep, I'm grateful for that moment of desperation that led me to try something different. Sometimes the most powerful solutions are also the simplest ones. You just have to be willing to try.